Most people are thinking, but almost nobody is thinking about how they think. And that single gap, that one blind spot sitting quietly at the center of every decision, every relationship, every failure and missed opportunity, is what separates the people who seem to move through life with unusual clarity from the ones who keep arriving at the same dead ends with different scenery. It's not intelligence, it's not education, it's not talent, background, or luck. It's something far simpler and far more unsettling. It's the ability to see the mechanism while it's running. To watch your own mind from the outside while it's doing what minds do and catch it before it costs you something. Most people never develop this. Not because they are incapable, because nobody showed them it was possible. The first thing that separates sharp thinkers from everyone else is that they have stopped trusting the feeling of being right. This sounds simple until you realize how completely the average person is governed by that feeling. When something confirms what you already believe, the brain releases a small neurological reward, a quiet satisfaction, a sense of resolution. And most people, without ever realizing it, spend their entire lives chasing that feeling rather than chasing truth. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, but the clinical name makes it sound like disorder. It actually isn't. It's the brain's default energy-saving mode. It costs less processing power to confirm than to question. The problem is that a mind optimized for comfort is not a mind optimized for accuracy. And in a world that moves at the speed it currently moves, where information is infinite and most of it is weaponized, a comfortable mind is an exploitable mind. The second thing is understanding what your attention is actually doing to you, not what you are paying attention to, what attention itself is doing. Every time you give sustained focus to something, a fear, a grievance, a belief, a person, your brain begins building infrastructure around it. Neural pathways, emotional association, automatic responses that eventually run without your conscious permission. This is why the things you consume consistently become the lens through which you see everything else, not metaphorically, neurologically. The algorithm isn't just showing you content, it's quietly constructing the architecture of your perception. And most people hand that construction project to strangers with financial incentives without a second thought. Type aware in the comments right now if you have felt your thinking change based on what you have been consuming. Because that recognition alone already puts you ahead of most of the people who will never notice it happening. The third thing is the one almost nobody talks about. The stories you tell about yourself are not descriptions, they are instructions. When you say, I am someone who always does this, and I am the kind of person who can't do that, your brain doesn't hear autobiography, it hears directive. It hears a boundary it is now responsible for maintaining. Cognitive scientists have documented this with uncomfortable precision. Identity-based self-narratives directly predict behavior more reliably than intention does, meaning what you believe about who you are will consistently override what you consciously decide to do. The person who says, I am trying to be more disciplined, will always lose to the person who says, I am someone who doesn't negotiate with distraction. Same action, completely different neurological instruction. The fourth thing is learning to sit with unresolved questions without forcing premature answers. This is rare than genius. The human mind has a deep, almost physical discomfort with open loops, unanswered questions, unresolved situations, ambiguity of any kind, and to escape the discomfort, most people snap to conclusion faster than the evidence warrants, then spend enormous energy defending the conclusion rather than examining it. The people who think most clearly have trained themselves to do something that feels deeply unnatural, to hold a question open, to say, I don't know yet, and mean it without anxiety. To treat uncertainty not as a problem to be solved immediately, but as a space where accurate thinking actually happens. The fifth thing is understanding the difference between reacting and responding. This distinction sounds like a motivational poster. It isn't. It's neurological. When something triggers you, an insult, a setback, a piece of news, a tone of voice, your amygdala fires before your prefrontal cortex has received the signal. You are emotional before you are rational. Every time, without exception, the gap between those two events, the emotional firing and the rational arrival, is approximately 90 seconds. 90 seconds, the people who seem unnaturally composed under pressure haven't eliminated the emotional response. They have learned to wait out the 90 seconds before they move. That pause, that single disciplined pause, is the difference between a reaction that costs you and a response that serves you. Here is what connects all five. None of them require a higher IQ. None of them require more information, more resources, or more time. They require something far simpler and far more demanding: the willingness to watch yourself, to treat your own mind not as the authority on reality but as a participant in it, one that has biases, blind spots, default settings, and inherited patterns that were installed long before you were old enough to choose them. Outsmarting 90% of the people was never about being smarter than them. It was about being more honest with yourself than they are willing to be with themselves. And that honesty, that quiet, ruthless, compassionate willingness to see your own mechanism clearly is available to anyone right now, starting with the next thought you decide to actually examine before you believe it. Subscribe to Paradox Mind and drop in the comments which of these five shifted something in your thinking today, because the comment you leave right now is itself a sign of which one hit closest to home.